It is 6 p.m. and I will now call to order the regularly scheduled Shawnee Mission School District Board of Education meeting. The first item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll next seek a motion for the adoption of our agenda.
So moved. Goodburn.
And is there a second?
Second. Hembry.
I think Jessica was the second on that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes 7-0. The next item is the approval of minutes from our special meeting on July 26, 2021. I'll seek a motion.
So moved. Borgman.
Thank you, Ms. Borgman. Is there a second?
Second. Guy.
Thank you, Reverend Guy. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The next item is 1.5, approval of minutes from our regular meeting on July 26, 2021. I'll seek a motion.
So moved. Sinclair.
Thank you, Dr. Sinclair. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Stratton. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And finally, item 1.6, approval of minutes from the special meeting on August 5th. I'll seek a motion.
So moved. Goodburn.
Thank you, Ms. Goodburn. Is there a second?
Second.
I think Dr. Sinclair was on that one. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We will move on to item 2.1, the Superintendent Report, and we'll turn it over to you, Dr. Hubbard.
Thank you, President Owsley. So we were thrilled last week to welcome the newest members of our team to New Team Member Academy. These individuals arrived with an enthusiastic welcome from the band members and cheerleaders and received a big round of applause as they concluded the academy. In between these celebrations, the new team members toured their work environments, met new colleagues, participated in professional development, and reviewed best practices. Continuing educators also returned on Friday, and we were thrilled for them to be back. Our school offices are open, and our teams have been engaged in getting ready to welcome students. As an SMSD team, we've been talking a lot about sticking together and how that will help all of us support our students next year. Please join the SMSD in making all new and returning team members feel welcome and ready for what lies ahead. We thank everyone for their work they're doing and are so excited to begin this school year. I also want to highlight that the district hosted a job fair at Shawnee Mission West this past week. The job fair welcomed about 75 community members who were in attendance. There are non-teaching positions open in operations and maintenance, food service, special education, information and communication technology, and for bus drivers. There are so many ways to help our students achieve their personal best through these roles. We will include a link in the board recap for anyone who may be interested in applying for these positions. Additionally, at the job fair, about 30 individuals received their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. We appreciate our partnership with the Johnson County Department of Health and Environment, who distributed the vaccine at the event. Leadership Shawnee Mission. The fourth cohort of Leadership Shawnee Mission students recently completed this prestigious leadership development program. 22 incoming junior and senior students representing all 5 high schools participated in the 2-week program sponsored by Shawnee Mission Education Foundation in partnership with Tucker Leadership Lab at William Jewell College. To participate, students are nominated by a teacher, counselor, or administrator and then invited to apply to the program. After the class concludes, the foundation continues to help guide them on their leadership path, from introducing them to professionals in their field, to writing college recommendation letters, to providing references for future jobs. We thank the Shawnee Mission Foundation and partners from William Jewell for offering this incredible experience for our students, and we congratulate all the students who graduated from the program this summer. Leadership Shawnee Mission students have often become faces for the foundation, and I'm sure we will see them participating in the foundation's annual fall breakfast on September the 28th. We want our community to know that a school-based health clinic will be opening soon for all SMSD students and their siblings. Health Partnership Clinic and the Shawnee Mission School District are partnering to provide primary and preventive health care, chronic disease management, and mental health services to students. This clinic will be open on Thursdays from 11 to 3, starting on Thursday, September 2nd, again at Shawnee Mission West. We will be sharing more details with families in the coming days and weeks. We'd like to thank Health Partnership Clinic for making this resource available to our students. I want to give a real quick enrollment update. And if you will look at the chart on your left, it gives you where we are for this particular school year. We projected 27,122, and our actuals as of Friday were 26,465. So as you can see, the difference in there is 657 students down from what we projected and built a budget around. And then the graph on the right just kind of gives you historically where our projections have fallen. And as you can see, there is a significant difference between where we are historically and where we are currently sitting. Well, I'm sorry, that was for 21-22. And I apologize, 22 is not on this. So, but we are still down pretty significantly from what we projected, as you can see. I will say again, this is from Friday, and it literally is changing rapidly by the day of students moving both in and out. So we'll just continue to monitor. But as it looks right now, we will still be fairly low in kindergarten and first grade compared to where we have historically been over the last several years. So we'll continue to update you as we have that information. And then last, I hope you will join me in the excitement for the return of students next week. We are thrilled to welcome students on the 12th, the 13th, and the 16th as they return to school. I know educators and families are in the midst of preparing for those first days. We have a website that includes some of our frequently used back-to-school resources, and we'll also include that in the recap. There's a lot of excitement, and regardless of what this year brings, I'm confident it will be a great school year.
Thank you, Dr. Hubbard. The next item on our agenda is the board report. I'll turn it over to Ms. Borgman for an update from SMAC BTA.
No updates, thank you.
Ms. Hembry from the Education Foundation.
No updates.
Okay. Reverend Guy from the KASB Board of Directors.
Just a reminder, if you haven't let Terry Wintering know, if you want to participate in the KASB Annual Convention on November 5th and 6th, you should let her know so she can get those registrations in. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Sinclair, the KASB Legislative Committee.
So I participated in an orientation meeting on August 4th, and the KASB committee has a number of new members. The primary meeting for this group will be August 28th, in which we as a district will want to be able to bring our legislative priorities as they've relate to the Kansas Association of School Boards overall agenda. There's an opportunity then on November 7th, which is the Sunday, I believe, following the convention, to bring amendments. It's if there are any other changes or concerns that come up. And then on December 16th is when the KASB legislative platform is voted on and finalized. So we will be meeting again on August 28th.
Thank you. Ms. Goodburn, do you have an update for us from the nominating committee?
Nothing that I haven't shared before, but I believe the application for president-elect of KSB is due by the 13th, and then we have our meeting that next week. It's a week from Saturday on the 21st, I believe, for the nominating committee.
Thank you. And then I'll go right back to you if there's an update from the Policy Review Committee.
We're kind of taking the month of August off and letting school get back in session, and we should have dates for our meetings for this year, 21-22, in September.
Thank you. And Mr. Stratton, do you have an update for us from the Finance and Facilities Committee?
No update. Our next meeting is in October.
Thank you. Okay. The next item on our agenda is the strategic plan update from Dr. Hubbard and the leadership team.
So I'm really excited to be talking about learning tonight and the strategic plan, and really showcasing some of the work of amazing committees that have been working hard over the last year. And this is one of the areas where I felt like we have continued to do the work even in the middle of COVID. Those committees were still able to meet, and even though some of them may have been virtually, the work still was completed, and we're excited to share that with you tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Grumman, Dr. Fleury, Dr. Dennis, and Dr. Neal.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Hubbard. Members of the board, as promised, we are excited to bring you updates throughout this year regarding the strategic plan. And so this evening, as you know, our mission, we start with that every single time. But really, our focus is around ensuring that students can achieve success through that personalized learning plan, developing that personal resilience, to master those essential competencies to be college and career ready, and then developing those critical interpersonal skills to be engaged, empathetic members of their local and global community. That work, by design through this plan, is being done through what we're calling our top 5 strategies. And so this evening we're going to really focus on the first of those 5 strategies, which is very exciting and I think very apropos as we get ready to go back to school. And that really is around teaching and learning. So I'm going to turn it over to colleague Dr. Ryan Fleury, and he has brought some special guests that he will also introduce. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Neal. As Dr. Neal said, we're talking tonight about Strategy 1, which is really the core of the plan and the focus on learning, guaranteeing that all of our students have relevant opportunities for personalized learning experiences. And Dr. Grumman and Dr. Dennis, Dr. Neal and I have structured this presentation to focus on each of the 3 areas within Strategy 1. The first of those areas is ensuring relevant, engaging, and applied learning experiences for all of our students that are tailored to their unique strengths, challenges, and interests. Part of Action Team 1 was developing a portrait of a graduate for our students so we know what we want them to be able to do when they leave our doors, and also defining what personalized learning looks like for us. And with that, I have brought a few members of our action planning team with me tonight. They've graciously volunteered to share about the work that they did, and we'll start with Lyda here.
Good evening. My name's Lyda Paget, and thank you for letting us share our work with you tonight. I'm a 10th grader from Shawnee Mission East, and our team met during 2019 and 2020 to develop a portrait of graduate and a definition of personalized learning. A portrait of graduate is a vision of the knowledge, skills, and attitudes we want our students to have when they walk out the doors at graduation. Our team reviewed regional work around 21st century skills, such as collaboration, communication, and self-advocacy, as well as academic skills and involvement in the community. This work was submitted to the superintendent in the spring of 2020. Over the course of the past several months, this work has been turned into a graphical representation.
Hello, my name is Toby Tunji, and I'm an 8th grader at Indian Hills Middle School. Our team categorized the essential skills, knowledge, and attitudes into 5 categories. College and career readiness is exemplified by moving from acquisition of knowledge to the application of that knowledge in real-world settings, earning market value assets, measuring success by competence, not seat time, and integrating content across subject areas. Interpersonal skills include emotional intelligence, teamwork, the ability to tackle open-ended problems, and the capacity for leadership. We define personal resilience as the ability to learn independently, a drive and passion to explore known topics deeper, advocating for others and ourselves, and seeking and using feedback. Citizenship includes awareness of social justice issues, valuing differences, creating value for others, financial fitness, and community service.
Good evening. My name is Jocelyn Tova, and I'm an 8th grade student at Hopper Grove Middle School. All of the essential skills mentioned by Toby are attained through personalized learning, which places the whole child at the center of instruction. Personalized learning is informed by strong relationships between educators, students, families, and the community. The key part of personalized learning is giving students voice and choice in how they demonstrate their learning.
I'd again like to thank those students for coming tonight and being part of the team that helped put this work together over the past couple of years. Thank you.
So from the great work that committee did, 112, as part of the strategic plan, took that and tried to create a framework to make sense of the definitions and to bring it to life. And we realized fairly quickly that personalized learning is something that we can't do to students. It has to be done in partnership with students. And so the purpose of this framework was to bring that definition to life and to make sense of it so that we can see how all of the pieces fit together. I'm just going to walk through this very quickly with you tonight. There are three elements to this framework. The first of that is feedback. And as you can see, there are roles for teachers, for students, and for families. And it really is about that interaction and working together and communicating. It also incorporates the work around individualized learning plans. And students are partners in that learning. The second piece is targeted instruction. So this is about learning. In this portion of the document, we talk about priority standards. We talk about proficiency scales. We talk about how students can track their growth. And we talk about how we can assess in a way that informs instruction so that we can improve student learning over time. The third piece is really about that student ownership. Because we want them not only to be partners, but to have choice and voice in how they demonstrate their learning. And so this is a definition of that. Our plan with this model is to share it with principals, but we also, in going through this, realized that a lot of these pieces, a lot of the elements already exist. This just puts them into a framework so we can see how they work together to benefit student learning.
Thank you, Dr. Dennis. And as Dr. Dennis mentioned, having students be able to have some voice and choice in the way they meet their core competencies, we also talk about graduation requirements and how can students leverage activities that are real-world activities into graduation requirement credit. We currently do that for English language arts with our programs here at the CAA and the CTC. Also, students who are doing internships during the school year earn credit, elective credit, for those. Some of that being honors level elective credit if it's something that is very intense, like a Cerner Scholars type of program. We're continuing to work to add more connections to other core content areas and working to understand how we can connect summer opportunities, after-school opportunities to graduation requirement credit, such as the Leadership Shawnee Mission program that just concluded. How can we get kids credit for that, both as an MBA and as graduation requirement? Part of helping students find that voice and choice is helping them have good tools to explore career opportunities. So we spoke at length about this 6 months ago in February, but just a reminder that our students have ample tools ready for them to use to help them explore what their futures might look like. Toby spoke to interpersonal skills as something key with the work we're doing, and Dr. Karen Chang at UMKC's Urban Education Research Center over the past year has put together a pretty comprehensive study of young urban professionals and how well they felt they were prepared for life in the world of work compared to how important different tasks were. And the chart you see here, for example, 92% of them said communication was a key skill in their job, which I think we would all agree with, but only 59% said they felt adequately prepared in that particular area. So it's something we want to make sure we're looking at down the road. She also asked the kids, the young professionals, where did you learn those skills? And it wasn't typically in your standard coursework. It was in other opportunities such as extracurriculars, job shadows, internships, summer camps, leadership opportunities outside of the normal classroom. So we want to make sure we're giving students opportunities to be part of those activities. One of the young professionals, one of the quotes was, I'm used to my college assignments. Go write this essay. But I was totally stunned when I got an activity where I had to come up with my own things to do at work. So understanding how to start on a project where it's not laid out step by step for you. Another part of Action Plan 1 is expanding and integrating our CTE pathways. As we go into this next school year, we'll be conducting our biannual comprehensive local needs assessment with the workforce development partners, Johnson County Community College, the other 5 school districts in the county, to really take a deep dive into the labor market data, to see where the jobs are, where they're going to be in 5 years, 10 years, to make sure we're preparing students adequately for their future. This school year, we're rolling out courses in business finance, including investing, risk management, insurance, banking and finance, and eventually a internship opportunity attached with that. Looking at next year, we'll be investigating a network systems pathway. In the following year, we'll be revamping our manufacturing pathway, as that is also the year that the CTC is due to be built out through the bond projects. This is a quick glimpse of a lot of data. This is that labor market data that I talked about that we will look at with the Comprehensive Local Needs Assessment. Across the x-axis are annual job openings in our workforce development region, which is Wyandotte, Johnson, and Leavenworth counties. The y-axis is the median entry-level wages, and then the size of the bubble is the number of students we have enrolled or graduating with a concentration in those programs. So that blue bubble over on the far right, for example, is healthcare. Lots of jobs, pretty decent wage going in, and we do have quite a few students. Just to the left of that and up a little bit is the business finance bubble. Lots of jobs again, pretty decent entry-level wage, but we have very few high school students in Johnson County participating in business finance courses. So that's why we're expanding that business finance pathway for this coming school year. Moving into the second piece of Strategy 1, really delves into the real-world learning project with the Kauffman Foundation. And we want to make sure that all of our students have that personalized plan that are connected with the community, with industry, and with lifelong learning opportunities. As I've shared before, and we kind of keep hitting on this, we are not on an island in this real-world learning project. It's a regional project across 6 counties. There are nearly 100,000 high school students involved. And our goal is that by the class of 2030, 100% of our high school seniors are graduating with 1 or more of the identified market value assets. 9 or more college credits, entrepreneurial experiences, work-based learning opportunities, or industry-recognized credentials. As far as Shawnee Mission goes, this is our current data from our 2019, class of 2019 baseline up to the class of 2020. And we've seen good increases in some areas and other areas that have stayed flat. So we'll continue to dive deeper into specifically the college credit area this coming school year with our new real-world learning counselors as they try to open up doors for students to enroll in courses at Johnson County Community College. Action Plan 2 also talks about a robust connection with the community. And of course, the Strategic Plan Steering Committee, the various strategy and action teams, as well as our Kauffman Real World Learning Design team, involve significant participation from our community, from all 5 feeder patterns, from business, industry, post-secondary, State Department of Education. Everyone was part of that team. And so this kind of highlights the different areas that we're connecting with the community through our Real World Learning project. We also want to make sure that business partners can either jump in head first off the high dive or have that zero depth entry kind of option. So we want to make sure they've got a good buffet of ways to be involved. And Laura Harsh and the team of the Shawnee Mission Education Foundation, along with our new counselors, are really working on connecting more business and industry partners with the district. Industry Credentials is one of those IRCs that I thought was going to be an easy lift, but it's actually been very messy. When Casey Rising reviewed the KSDE and Missouri's Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's lists of industry credentials, they found very little alignment between what students can earn in school, as far as a credential goes, and what the labor market needs. Only 17% on the Kansas side actually matched up with what employers were looking for. Kauffman took it a step further and did a data mining analysis of job postings from across our region, tens of thousands of job postings. And again, found very little alignment with what our State Department of Education says should be worth something and what industry is really looking for. So we're going to keep working on this. Kauffman's really leading the way regionally to discuss not just things like CNA or EMT or CompTIA, but also how can we provide credentialing for those soft skills, really getting those essential skills. So if a student comes to you with a certain type of soft skill certification, you know what that means and you know the skills they have behind it. And I'll turn it back over to Dr. Dennis.
Thank you, Dr. Fleury. Moving on to Action Plan 3. We are talking here about guaranteeing academic and interpersonal success for all students. The first part of that goal deals with priority standards and setting those proficiency scales. And we've done a lot of that work. We're now ready to move into the feedback and grading practices section of this strategy. This summer, under Dr. Grumman's leadership, we have updated elementary grade cards. I walked around and asked people this morning, when was the last time we updated grade cards? And I couldn't find anybody who remembered it happening. So it's been, our best guess is it's been 25 years since that's happened. So it is well past time that we did it. We've taken a step here, and let me show you what that looks like. Basically, what we've tried to do is incorporate priority standard language into the grade card. So on the left side of your screen is what the old grade card looked like. This is math at the first grade level. Actually, math first, second, and third grade. It was a band. So on that grade card, you would give feedback on knowing math facts as studied, understanding mathematical concepts, and reasoning well in problem solving. And that was the feedback that was provided to students and parents on the grade cards, first through third grade in math. On the right side is the updated version, and what we have done there is identified what those priority standards are, and they're much more specific. So we're going to be looking now and giving feedback, specific feedback to parents and to students about identifying, defining attributes of shapes, about measuring the length of objects, about interpreting data, about reading, counting, and writing to 120. And again, this is the first grade level. Adding and subtracting within 20. I would point out to the question mark, use, less than, greater than, equal to. It should be not equal to, correct, Dr. Grumman? But the computer didn't accept that symbol for whatever reason. So, and you can see we've also identified the priority standards there. So if somebody wanted to look those up and follow up on that, you could get a little more information and data.
Dr. Grumman, would you share a little bit about, we don't really have a slide in here, but talk maybe a little bit about our data dashboard that's a part of our strategic plan site that will be getting an update here in the next 2 weeks. Kind of tell us a little bit about how that helps us track our progress.
And I'll first start out with, data is pretty stubborn, right? So you've seen, past presentations with things like ACT scores or percent of students successfully completing Algebra 2 and that. So to maybe get at the first piece of, how are we measuring personalized learning and all the things that we're doing here? Well, part of the reason we're doing all these things is to get some movement on that stubborn data, and that's the way to do it, is to make sure that learning is relevant and engaging and ensures that all students have this sense of purpose and belonging. So the outcome measures, a lot of them are going to be the same. There's a lot of overlaps. A lot of them are going to be the same as what we've continued to look at along the way. But we have to do it through this process. The dashboard or the graphs that we initially started with the strategic plan, I actually have the draft updated versions here in my hand. So I'd anticipate that much of that data we'll see an update. I'm going to say by middle of next week. It's almost ready. We're just refreshing some of the bulleted statements. As you remember, in the spring of 20, we were not able to administer the spring assessment, so there's a little bit of a gap in some of the data. So there's some updated language in some of these graphs, but we hope to be able to have that for everyone to view by next week. So, and then just as we're looking at this data around the market value assets. We're looking forward to analyzing some of that data as well. We just we're working with a third-party research organization with Kaufman, and part of the plan there is to get some regional data sets as well. So we're continuing sort of anonymously contribute to a regional set where we not only can look at our own progress in terms of students attaining these market value assets, but also where we are regionally, not only with the progress of how well we're doing, but also what kind of data that we're able to collect and programs are able to provide along the way. So sometime down the road, we look forward to being able to provide some more of that information too. For example, following what % of our graduates earn at least one market value asset. And what I'm excited about is with this type of data is, when you have a test, the test is usually fixed and you have to move the students into the test. In this type of data set, you're working it from both directions. You're trying to get students involved in these programs, and you're trying to increase the number of options available to students at the same time. So you're trying to get those to meld together at the same time. So it's a more exciting, little different approach to data collection, and hopefully we look forward to seeing some growth in this area.
We stand for any questions that you may have.
Sure. Dr. Hubbard, did you have any final thoughts before we go for questions?
No, let's do questions and then I'll close.
I'll just start with Ms. Borgman and work our way around.
First, I want to say thank you to the students who are here tonight. So grateful that you came up and gave up part of your summer evening to speak with us. I know it's not easy. My son was supposed to be here, and he was like, you cannot make me. You cannot make me. So thank you to the students. And I do have a question for the students. Just because so often it's the adults telling kids, this is the way to do it. This is how it's going to be done. And sometimes we forget to ask kids, what do you think about this? How would you like to see school? So what did that feel like to be sort of involved in this process? And just to be asked,
It was really interesting. Like, I had a lot of thoughts on it and opinions about it, so it was really, nice to finally, get to speak out and stuff. And I know a lot of people struggle with learning, and it was just nice to, know that I was, helping them out and making a change, I guess.
Very good. One follow-up question. Sorry. Did you feel like you were heard? I mean, do you feel like your suggestions and your comments were taken into consideration?
Yeah, definitely. The staff that was helping out was really, they made eye contact when I listened, and they agreed, and it was really nice, having someone do that for us.
That's great. Thank you. Good job. Thank you.
I didn't know if the other students wanted to answer that question.
Yeah, I think it just felt good for our opinions to be heard, because that'll help all the other students in the long run, and we kind of all think the same thing. So that was good.
Just the idea of thinking you're being heard and people putting attention to your opinion was really nice, because Lida said, there's people who struggle to learn, and there's specific ways where that can help them, and that was just nice.
Thank you so much for being here. You guys are great students.
Reverend Guy, do you have a follow-up question or an actual question for the team?
I have an actual question.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for the presentation, and it is exciting to be talking about learning, and that's why we're all here. So it occurred to me in listening to the things that you were saying that it feels like there's kind of several goals we're trying to achieve at the same time, and going back to our mission statement, ensuring students construct their own foundation for success in life's endeavors seems to be the main thing, or the main goal, that our students will be college and career ready when they graduate and can go into whatever career they want. But it seems like possibly another goal in these personalized learning plans is for students to have more buy-in in their own education. That my hope is that that will help increase our graduation rate, that students are going to be more excited and more engaged. The choice and voice is going to make them, have more buy-in in their own education. Do we have any way of measuring that, or is that kind of in the background of some of the things you've been talking about?
I'd say in a lot of ways, I mean, most of our measurements here are going to be proxies for those. But I'm glad that you mentioned graduation rate as an example, because it is a proxy for a lot of things, right? Students have to have some resilience to graduate. It's the culmination of those skills and credits. So, that's a tough thing tough egg to crack on direct measurement. There are some surveys, some qualitative things that we can look at. We do survey seniors as they're walking out the door, and it's interesting to look at sort of the qualitative responses and see how they may change or be different. Sometimes what you're capturing is just their mood of the day. So it is tough, but we have to. But as I go back to, the data is pretty stubborn, and so what you have to look at is, these personalizations, this resilience, all these other terms. That's how you get movement in this other data that just doesn't like to move very, very far.
If I could add on to Dr. Grumman's comments, I like to look at the discipline data as a way to measure that level of engagement or disengagement in the classroom settings, because many times if the students are not engaged, that leads to disciplinary referrals to the office. We graduated a kid out of fire science last year who's now going to JCCC Fire Academy, and I remember him at South as a punk little freshman, and he really, once he found that passion in fire science, he turned it around and really blossomed.
Reverend Guy, I would also add that I would hope to see some change in our buy-in around the work we do with Zello. You'll see, we had some data sometime last year in the blur of COVID, where we looked at the participation around Zello and U-Science at our middle schools and high schools, and you saw some schools that were really taking off with it and some schools that really hadn't even introduced it. And so I'm also hoping we'll see some growth in that area, because if you're really buying into your learning, you're going to see that through the Zello process and some of those inventories in there and just activities around building resumes and things like that.
Mr. Stratton. Thank you. Dr. Sinclair? You have like 10, don't you?
I love this, I know.
Okay.
I'll do one.
Let's just let her run.
I'll do one.
Okay.
So looking at the feedback loop, there's a piece talking about families partnering with teachers and students to understand what I think are like these really key concepts: priority standards, learning targets, proficiency scales. So that's new language. I mean, it's not common language. It's not super new, but it's, I don't think it's common language yet. So I just was curious if the team discussed with students, how do we help convey what those concepts are, and
Dr. Fleury, your team's the
the
one who
importance
worked
of
with students on this, but I would say that it is not brand new, but it's new enough that it's not common vocabulary, and it is something that we need to introduce. We need some time to educate and partner to make that common understanding.
I'm curious if any of the students have ideas of how you would take one of those and explain it like to your parents. Priority standards or learning targets. And I could be putting you on the spot too, so I don't mean to do that.
While they're thinking, one of the ways we're hoping to do that is through that grade card, which is a form of feedback, but it will introduce some of that vocabulary. So it's on a report that they get on a regular basis.
And to clarify, the students here tonight were not on the feedback loop team.
Okay, sorry about that.
They were on the first team.
Dr. Sinclair, I would also just say that we have even at early childhood. So we actually redid the grade card. At the time, our teachers had really been wanting to improve instead of just a checklist, but have a way to really engage and have a conversation with parents around where their children were developmentally with milestones. So that fit very nicely for our team when they were developing their priority standards and those proficiency scales. And so they went ahead and we actually have implemented a grade card. So from the time they step in, even as 4-year-olds, we begin having those kind of conversations and helping parents understand what those are and how then they can assist as partners in helping their children move towards success.
It's so good to see. It's so powerful, just talking about, what is it you need to know and be able to do, and where are your competencies, and where do you need to build strengths in other areas. And it's so exciting to see.
There's an action team that will develop, that will be formed this fall as well, to start looking at some of those issues.
That's so great. Thank you. Thank you to the students for participating.
I just had a question about transportation and equitable access with regards to the internships, because I know that's conversations that Dr. Fleury and Dr. Hubbard had mentioned previously, like where we have a situation, it's wonderful to have like internship opportunities, but if a student doesn't have transportation to get to the internship opportunity, it kind of throws a monkey wrench in the works. And so there was some collaborative discussions, I think, at Kauffman about innovative ways to address transportation equity to get students to like these career-ready opportunities. And so I didn't know if there was potentially an update, and if not, that's fine. But if there becomes an opportunity for an update on that, I'd love for the board to be kept abreast of what we might be able to do to assist with that.
Yeah, Dr. Ziegler's team is working on that as well, in conjunction with us on the CTE side. I will say I'm proud that the district continues to fund busing for the programs at the CTC and the CAA. We're also trying to run buses for welding and auto tech, those types of programs. Internships, so far we have not had to turn anybody away that had a transportation issue, but the solutions have been Band-Aid solutions, not systematic. And so I'm hoping that in the next couple of months we'll have some things to share regarding a partnership that Kauffman's working on with an outside vendor.
Great, thank you so much. Ms. Goodburn?
I'm looking at the chart on market value assets, SMSD graduates, and in it looks like we've made significant progress, if I'm reading this correctly, which is a question. But the client projects, we went from 3% to 13% to 32%. I'd just like to hear maybe some examples of what we're doing in the client projects to engage that high percentage of graduates.
Sure. A couple of quick examples. We had a student that created a tactile map for a student with a vision issue, a tactile map of entire Westridge Middle School. And so the blind student was the client, and then the CAD student was the one developing the map. Another example is a group of students who took over a plot of land at, I want to say 34th and Prospect, 36th and Prospect, part of the Prospect corridor, to turn it into a more community center type of space. So there was an outside group that provided feedback, and ultimately anything that has that feedback loop turns into a client project. If our high school digital design students, graphic design students, are working with the band boosters to put together a program, that would be turning into a client project because they're getting some feedback, making adjustments, and then producing that final product.
Well, great work. That's huge gains, so great work.
Ms. Embry?
I would echo all of the thanks for everyone's time and effort, especially students. It makes me happy to see students in our boardroom and know that you have a great school year ahead of you. My question is largely around, it does feel like there's a lot of different parts to this, and some of them are things that were sort of already in progress, and some of them are new things. So I think my biggest question is sort of, how much does this represent a repackaging of what's sort of already in progress for the district, and how much does it represent a pivot of where we're going?
It's certainly a combination of both. We've got a lot of those elements already in place, RTI, individual plans of study, priority standards, but what we've tried to do is find ways where how they fit together, to work together in a mutually beneficial way. So that's the part that's new. I don't know that we've created anything really brand new in this process, so much as tried to hone how they work together.
Can I ask a follow-up question there? I think my main question then is sort of what are the next steps for this particular strategic plan item?
So I'm glad you asked, because this is a great opportunity for us to sort of promote that coming out here in the next 2 weeks. You are probably familiar, it's been maybe, gosh, Dr. Hubbard, do you think it's been a year and a half or 2 years since we did the last survey, maybe a year ago, where we're going to send out and request some new interest in serving on committees going forward. And so I know that in the academic and interpersonal skills, I know that to further the work around some of those high-impact instructional strategies, so Kristen Zook helps to lead that work. She's going to be looking for a committee, and I think that one largely may be some internal membership, but even those. But we will have some committees that will be internal and will be asking for community members to join us. So it really kind of depends on the strategy and where we are in the work. In some of this work, I think where we are, some of the next steps will necessarily be to create stakeholder, more maybe internal groups to do some of that work. But then we'll be going out again with some survey tools to gauge sort of the community, to get community input in that way. They may or may not be directly working in the committees, but there will be components where we'll still want to make sure, since this is the community's plan, we want to get a broad stakeholder input. And so with regard to this particular strategy one, that's one area where we're moving forward that focus. You asked, is it a repackaging or is it, new things? I think really being intentional about some of the things that we maybe have talked about and we've known about, but really sort of that intentionality. I think about the feedback loop and some of the work that the district instructional teams have been doing around understanding why that's such a critical component, that student engagement and goal setting. And so now helping to spread that out and take that down into the schools so that we can further that work and see that impact.
It's the professional learning component.
Yeah. Right. So that will be a big piece of where we're going next.
Sure. Go ahead, Dr. Sinclair.
It's a related follow-up, just so I have an understanding of the direction we're going. When I think about all the different pieces, what I get excited about is I see them all coming together and being connected so that the district is almost creating, a system where the opportunity for every child to participate truly exists. So we have pieces that we have been building, and now we're bringing those pieces to scale and creating and bringing resources to those, like bringing the counselors, so that it really is creating an opportunity for every child to take advantage. So in my mind, if I'm thinking about looking for progress, it would just be even in raw numbers of students participating and engaging and taking advantage of these opportunities. Is that, so it's almost an equity issue. So you're kind of, is that
Yes, I would say it's making sure that all students have access to the amazing opportunities that the district has to offer, and expanding on those opportunities as we see the need in the outside market.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I think this is a really nice part of our strategic plan, because right here I see strategy 1, strategy 2 with the equity piece coming in, and really that strategy 4 around systems all starting to come together. And while a lot of these things were pieces that were in place, I agree that they're all sort of coming together. And I think where we're going, I want to talk specifically about this real world learning work and the MBAs, because that is very new for us in the last 2 years, and the growth that we've seen with that already is great. And I know one of our big next steps, and I'm doing some of this work, and I know Ryan and Laura are doing a ton of this work, but really working with our chambers, our local chambers, to say, this is what we need from you. We need internships, right? We need client-based projects. And, maybe it's even expanding further where there's a small business that's a member of the chamber that doesn't have a marketing team and they want to rebrand a logo. So maybe a high school graphics class could do that, or maybe the video production could create videos similar to our video team for that particular company. So looking for those client-based projects, and that's where we really are going to need our community to step in. And so that's a big next step in this market value asset piece for us.
Go ahead, Ms. Bergman.
So just kind of along the same lines, the conceptualization to application type question, like the how are we going to get there? I'll take my own, student, for example, she's very involved in the CAA with the medical science program. And we got involved because we knew someone who was involved, and that's how we knew about it. Now, granted, I know this is still relatively new in the grand scheme of things, but how are we getting kids plugged into these types of resources? How are we getting them identified and involved in different things rather than just, oh, my mom heard from another mom kind of thing?
Sure, I'd be happy to answer that. So we are really working on a marketing push this year. We've always had some YouTube videos and the websites the counselors share with students and that we share out with parents. Last spring, we did a series of webinars on real-world learning. We'll repeat those this fall and add to that so parents can learn more about the programs. We've been using the U-Science platform to kind of target kids, like if they show they've got a strong aptitude in teaching, for example. I send that list to the high school teaching education teachers and counselors, and they start talking to those kids, having those individual conversations. Because ultimately, it's that relationship that your student has with the teacher or a counselor that's going to help drive more students into these programs. The 5 new counselors, the real-world learning counselors, have been a great addition to the team. They've really hit the ground running and are excited to get more kids involved in internships that are local to their feeder pattern. And like Dr. Hubbard said, we've got a number of large businesses and small businesses that are eager to host our students.
And then are we looping parents into some of these conversations? Because I know that, sometimes kids get caught up in their day-to-day and they forget, right? So how are we engaging our parents into these conversations as well?
Same, like those webinars, we'll do PSAs and push out information to parents on, here's an open house night, come learn more about auto tech at Shawnee Mission West, learn more about fire science. We're really trying to have as many of those opportunities to connect out to parents as we can. And I know the communications department and David's team has done a great job pushing some things out in the Shawnee Mission Post, as well as the Inside Shawnee Mission magazine this summer.
And I guess just to get real granular, I'll take the example of we've identified a student who may be, have some exceptional skills in teaching, right? So for that particular student, for example, are we looping mom, dad, guardian into that conversation as well? Are we also letting mom, dad, guardian know that, hey, your student has these exceptional skills. We have chatted with them about education, for example.
That's something we could do better with, definitely. Because especially at the high school level, so many kids are making those choices on their own because, my buddy Dan's taking weights first hour. I want to make sure I take weights with Dan, as opposed to having that input from the parent at that level. So we definitely need to be better at the parent communication, especially at the high school level, on course offerings and choices, and being able to have the conversation with your student about what's important for their future.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, Dr. Fleury, and I look forward to hearing ways in the future that, how we're moving that needle to get our parents and guardians involved. So thank you.
Are there any final questions? Go ahead, Ms. Embry.
I was just I think this is sort of keying after Dr. Sinclair's question earlier. It's more of an observation that I think there is a lot of language in here that feels like very inside baseball language, and it's just from my conversations out in the community, even the phrase like personalized learning. I've heard parents say, oh, I think that means they're going to use iPads too much. And I've heard parents say, oh, I think that means that my kid's going to get a lot more tutoring. Or I've heard teachers say, I think that means I have to have an individual plan for every single student. So I don't think we can do too much communication about things like this because it does, I think, represent some change. Even getting a grade card that looks different is going to throw me personally for a loop when I get that for my elementary age students. So I would just sort of echo the sentiments around how important that communication piece is, because especially personalized learning, I can't tell you how many people have asked me some question that's like, they have no clue what we're talking about. And to explain it as proficiency skills and priority standards probably won't help.
So great feedback. And I think as we move into year 3 of the strategic plan, this plan is really starting to come to life. We're having some tangible products come out of it. And so you're right, communicating about the change of what things look like is going to be extremely important. I would like to thank the students for being here. I remember sitting in the first meeting around this personalized learning plan with students in the room, and just it's intimidating when you're in a room full of adults that you don't know, and the students came in, and it took them a little while to get started, but once they did, they were awesome. So just kudos to you all for sticking with the process and staying with us. So I'm very much appreciative of that. And to this team tonight, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. It was very nice to discuss learning. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the consent items. I will seek a motion for approval.
So move, Goodburn.
Is there a second?
Second, Hembry.
Thank you, Ms. Hembry. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, that passes 7-0. The next item on our agenda is the beginning of our action items. 7.1 is the adoption of the school term plan for 21-22. I'll seek a motion in a second, then have Dr. Hubbard give us a couple sentences on it.
So move, Borgman.
Thank you, Ms. Borkman. Is there a second?
Second. Oh, Mr. Stratton?
Yeah, we'll give that one to Mr. Stratton. Dr. Hubbard, do you have a couple words for us on this?
Just annually, we have to approve a school term plan. We choose hours. The majority of school districts in the state do that, if not all. We've always chosen that as the Shawnee Mission School District, so we're recommending continue with hours.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, that passes 7-0. Item 7.2, we'll do the same again. I'll seek a motion for approval of the contract with supplemental health care.
Move approval, Sinclair.
Thank you, Dr. Sinclair. Is there a second?
Second, Hembry.
Thank you, Ms. Hembry. Dr. Hubbard, can you just give us a quick update?
I can. So I'm going to talk about 702, 703, 704, and 705 just as briefly. They really all pertain to the same thing, and that is the shortage in employees that we're facing right now. This is not only a Shawnee Mission problem or a Johnson County problem, it's a national problem in regards to staffing. And so these are all contracted services to help us fill positions. You saw some of these on the last board meeting as well. And so again, we held the job fair hoping to, almost every one of these are pertaining to some of those jobs that we talked about earlier from the job fair, including custodial. The majority of them are around special education, but custodial is in here as well. So that really is the story between all of these agenda items.
Thank you. For item 7.2, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Item passes 7-0. For item 7.3, approval of contract with therapy travelers. My apologies. I'll seek a motion for approval.
Move approval, Goodburn.
Thank you, Ms. Goodburn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Stratton. Are there any comments or questions for Dr. Hubbard on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The item passes 7-0. For item 7.4, I'll seek a motion for approval of the contract with Maxim Healthcare Staffing. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Thank you, Dr. Sinclair. Is there a second?
Second, Borgman.
Thank you, Ms. Borgman. Are there any questions for Dr. Hubbard on this item?
I have one, sorry, very general question.
Yes, Ms. Hembry?
And it's probably a bigger question than we can answer tonight, but understanding that a lot of these shortages are related to like overall labor market trends. Are we paying our staff enough, especially in some of these certified roles, to be able to, I mean, I know there's other broader issues going on. It's just a question I think is worth asking.
Certified or classified specifically?
I guess classified, thank you. I always get those mixed up.
So classified, we annually look at the job analysis, at least among the educational sector, and I'm going to ask Dr. Schumacher to jump in and talk specifically. I know there are areas where we're really good and other areas that we continue to need support.
Yeah, that's a solid answer, Dr. Hubbard. We do an analysis each year, and we talk with especially our Johnson County cohorts quite a bit to make sure that we're lining up with them. You did approve a few months ago a raise to our paraeducators and our aides, and so that was much appreciated. And even at public comment today, we heard from one of our patrons appreciative of the fact that you consistently give a raise consistent with our certified staff to our classified staff. So would we like to do more? Of course, but we are consistent amongst the market.
Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, that item passes 7-0. Moving to 7.5, thank you. Sorry, there's a lot of these right in a row. Approval of proposed agency contract for supplemental operations staffing. I'll seek a motion for approval.
So move, Goodburn.
Thank you, Ms. Goodburn. Is there a second?
Second, Hembry.
Thank you, Ms. Hembry. And I'll ask one more time, are there any final questions on this? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Hearing none, that item passes 7-0. And now moving on to item 7.6, approval of the renewal of the contract with Marathon Health. I'll seek a motion in a second, and we'll have Dr. Hubbard answer questions.
So moved.
Was that Reverend Guy? Thank you, Reverend Guy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Stratton. Dr. Hubbard?
I would just add that Marathon Health provides health services for anyone associated with our health insurance, and it is a great benefit that I know staff definitely enjoy having, and the benefit of it being so quick to be able to return to service. If it's something I'm not contagious or that I need to be excluded for, that I can immediately see a doctor, get my medicine, and return to work and not be a day or a half a day away from work. So we're very thankful for this opportunity, and with that, I'm going to turn it to Dr. Schumacher just to make a few comments.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Hubbard. Just quickly, pretty straightforward action item, I think. We've had a partnership with Marathon Health since 2017 when we first opened up the health clinic. We do partner with our broker, CBiz, with this contract. And as we were having discussions this past spring and summer, we kind of approached it from two different perspectives. One, we wanted to make sure that we're able to provide a fair market rate, that we continue with some great service, which we do get from Marathon Health. And then secondly, we wanted to increase the behavioral health specialist, their time. And so with this plan, we can go from move from 0.4 up to 0.75, which again provides some additional help to our employees. And so there is some cost savings to this plan by extending 5 years in comparison to just renewing each year. So we do feel like it's a great contract, and one in which, again, our employees have really come accustomed to.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Hearing none, it passes 7-0. We're down to 8.1, comments from board members. Ms. Hembry, I'll turn it over to you.
Happy first week of school, that's it.
Ms. Goodburn.
I'll say that too. Happy first week of school.
You know what, I'm going to say the same thing. Happy first week of school. And to our remote learners who are coming back into the building for the first time in a year and a half this week, we're really excited to have you back. And to the remote teachers who are back in the building with those kiddos. So that's very exciting. Thank you. And Dr. Sinclair.
Two things. One, we had a couple other students here tonight. We had two students from the Shawnee Mission East Hallburg snapping action photos at the board meeting for the yearbook. So it's good to see some additional students here tonight. And then the other is I want to do a plug for the Kansas Department of Education, led by Dr. Randy Watson, is doing a tour of 50 cities. He will be in the area September 7th, 8th, in 3 different locations in this area. And the reason why the connection I want to build is, so the conversation is about the mission and vision of the Department of Education and the standards. What do we want our kids to know, to learn, to be able to do? And the last time they went out, it was in 2015, and the Kansas CAN vision was developed. And so part of the conversation that they're having again is really checking in to see if, that needs to be updated, where we're at and what we want to be able to do as a public education system for our students. And when I think about the grade card that's being produced and the revision of listing all those priority standards, those priority standards come from the vision and the goals that are set by the State Department of Education. And so I just wanted to make that connection and really encourage folks to participate if you want to share with the State Department what you think it is, what's important for our kids to be learning, to know, and to be able to do. And so you can find those meetings at the ksde.org website, but there's Blue Valley, September 2nd. So there's like on the evening, 6 to 7:30 at Blue Valley School District at their Hilltop Center, Thursday, September 2nd. Then there's another one in Olathe, and that one is on Friday, September 3rd in the morning, 9 to 10:30, and that's at the Instructional Resource Center in Olathe. And then there's a third one in KCK, and that's at their central office on Tuesday, September 2nd, 11:30 to 1. So there's a morning, afternoon, and evening one in our region. And I would encourage anyone who's available to participate and share your thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Stratton. No comments. Thank you. Reverend Guy?
I just have enjoyed seeing all the photographs on social media of teachers returning to buildings and new teachers, but I think my favorite photo of the past week is the new Shawnee Mission North mascot, their new bison. So congratulations on Shawnee Mission North. It's a great mascot, and I'm sure there'll be some great spirit wear coming soon. So, and welcome back to school, everybody.
Ms. Borkman?
Welcome back to school, and also it was so wonderful and refreshing to see students here presenting tonight. I would just like to ask that anytime we can have students here to present, it would be amazing. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much, everyone. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education is August 23rd, 2021. There is no executive session following this meeting, so we are adjourned and closed. Thank you.